the 5 cravings. And craving is the core problem of addiction. Being able to deal with it, recognize it, avoid it, escape it, reduce it, that's what's necessary if we're going to recover. So all I'm trying to do here is talk about 5 recognizable forms of craving. And there's only one of them that may be a little new to you, but you may not have thought of the others, all of the others, as craving. First, let's get the physical ones out of the way. The most obvious kind of craving is I quit doing my drug cold turkey and I break out in a sweat, and maybe I get pretty sick and my body hurts, and the only thing that would make me feel better is either the drug I usually take or some other drug that's got a similar molecular structure, which is why we give people Librium for alcohol. The withdrawal is the craving I get when I stop use. That's physical. There's another kind of craving that I get when I start use, which is apparently physical. And this is the only way the word craving was actually used in the original book, Alcoholics Anonymous, to describe what happens when an alcoholic takes the first drink. That we start out thinking we only want one, we're only going to take one. We tell ourselves that anyway. And somehow the presence of alcohol in an alcoholic's brain triggers this desire for more and more and more and more. I had one alcoholic describe it to me that at 2 o'clock in the morning, when everybody else is ready to go to bed, I'm just getting started. I just want to keep partying. There's an energy there. We also talk about alcohol being a stimulant, at least for some alcoholics. So those are the 2 physical, the most obviously physical kinds of cravings. The others, at some level, they're all physical, but let me start with another simple one that's pretty easy to recognize, and this is the one that involves a trigger. With Pavlov's dogs, if you remember, if you give the dog meat, put meat in front of a dog, he starts drooling. You ring the bell a couple times and give him meat, and ring the bell, give him meat, ring the bell, give him meat. He starts drooling even if you just ring the bell and he doesn't get the meat. But he'll drool anyway because the bell has become paired at some level that's got to be physical, neurological, with his meat. And an addict or an alcoholic, let's say your favorite booze is Jack Daniels, and you're driving down a freeway and you see a huge billboard with a giant picture of a Jack Daniels bottle, you may get a little thirsty. That picture, that image is associated with what's in that bottle, even though you're looking at something that's neither a bottle nor a liquid. A cocaine addict may see white talcum powder for their baby, and it may trigger craving for the powder of cocaine, because just the image of a white powder may be paired in their brain with the experience of using coke. I call this kind of craving, and I say it humorously with my clients, it's drooling. When you have that kind of craving, you're like the dog drooling for the drug, and it's exactly the same kind of conditioning. The next one, pretty well known to most people, is stress. If I'm upset, and in my upset it seems like the best thing, maybe the only thing that will give me relief is my drug of choice, that's a craving that's at least activated by a life situation, a life problem. And most of us are familiar with that. We've either experienced it. Even people without addictions may sometimes crave ice cream, or may even crave a drink for relief in a particular situation where they're not physically addicted necessarily. But with addiction, there's an old saying. I think I got it from now I'm going to forget his name. Stallcup, Dr. Stallcup out of Haight-Ashbury said, "Stress triggers craving." And that's the kind of craving I'm talking about. The last one is the one that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else name. I call it subliminal craving. It's the kind of craving where a person does not feel an overpowering desire, physical or psychological, for a drink or drug, but they get this lovely little thought in their head, I just have one won't hurt, maybe I wasn't that bad. Something that tells them it's okay to have a drink, have a dose of my favorite drug. And the reason I call it a craving is because what's going on is wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is believing what I want to believe instead of the facts, the truth. Okay, that's all wishful thinking is. If I'm an addict or alcoholic believing that one drink, one drug won't hurt me, I'm pretty clearly involved in wishful thinking. And what's happened, if you look at it over time, is that 6 months ago, or maybe 6 years ago, when I quit drinking or drugging, I had a very clear awareness that I'm an addict. I had a very clear awareness it's the first drink, it's the first drug, can't do that, won't work, never going to work. And here I am 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years later, and my desire is convincing me the exact opposite of reality. My desire has taken over my cognitive processes. It's taken over my memory. It's taken over my ability to accurately predict the consequences of my behavior. It's taken over my awareness of my internal state. I'm not aware that a craving is in control. I may not be aware in the event that I've had some kind of pain or distress that I've blocked out, and now that is calling for the relief of my drug. May not be aware of that. I'm pretty thoroughly cut off from reality, and my cognitive process is dominated by this delusion. And I think that if a desire is strong enough to take over my mind and control my behavior, I think it merits the word craving, and I call it subliminal craving, like the idea of the old marketing people flickering images of Coke so fast you can't see them, so you don't know why you suddenly want a Coke. I call this subliminal craving because the person is not aware, most of the time, sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not aware of craving. They're just aware of a perfectly plausible belief, and unfortunately they may act on it. And when they do, it's called relapse. So those are the 5 different kinds of craving, and if we're going to recover, we have to deal with them all.